time cannot find me at all. Just a breath away, nothing here but heaven, nowhere but love to fall. As I go within, quiet peace, offer something sacred. There's a sweetness that waits, holiest embrace that reminds me I'm always home. It's here that I am always home.
Please take a moment to join me in prayer. And I know that God is all there is. And I know that God is right here, right this very moment here at Seaside, expressing itself through each and every one of us. Each of us that is that divine essence. And I know that we are all one with God. We are one with the source of love and caring and inspiration. Closer to us than our breath, that is where God is. And I give thanks in advance in knowing that this evening service here at Seaside unfolds in perfect divine order. Each of us here today receives exactly that which we are here for. As the words flow forth from Reverend Debbie McDonnell's lips, each of us is touched. Each of us receives a shift. And we take that message out into the world and pass it on to others. And consciousness expands throughout the world. And so I simply turn this time over to the hand of God and know that it is perfect. And so it is. Good evening. My name is Brian Atkins. I've been a practitioner here at Seaside for about 12 years now. And I will be doing your reading this evening. Tonight's theme is on creative mind and success. And my reading will be from the book by Ernest Holmes called Creative Mind and Success. And it's on what is considered mental equivalent, which is a concept that I've always found really tangible. It's something that we can immediately see the effect of if we look out at ourselves and how we interact with the world. Jesus basically said, "It is done unto you as you believe." Or in common layman's terms, it's more like, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right. So here we have mental equivalence. One of the most necessary things to remember is that we cannot demonstrate life beyond our mental ability to embody. We give birth to an idea only from within ourselves. What we are, we put into our thinking. What we are not, we cannot put into it. If we are to draw from life what we want, we must first think it forth into life. It always produces what we think. In order to have success, we must first conceive it in our own thought. This is not because we are creators, but because the flow of life into manifestation through us must take the form we give to it. And if we want a thing, we must have within ourselves the mental equivalent before we get it. This is what Jesus meant when he said that we must believe when we pray. This belief is providing within us that something which knows before it sees what it asks for. For instance, suppose a man is praying for activity. Our idea of prayer is the accepting of a thing before we get it in his affairs. First, before this activity can come, he must have it within himself. He must come to see activity in everything. There must be something that corresponds to the thing that he wants. He must have a mental equivalent. We find that we attract to ourselves as much of anything as we embody within. As water will only reach only its own level, so our outward conditions will reproduce only our inner realizations. And man will always draw to him just what he is, but we can learn to provide within the image of what we desire, and so in a definite way, use the law to get just what we need. Please join me in meditation.
Surrender, I surrender, and let the silence hold me. Surrender, I surrender, and open to surrender, I surrender, and let the silence hold me. Surrender, I surrender, and open to the love, and open to the love. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is giving that we receive, and it's in pardon that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
So beautiful. Thank you, Aria. Aria Dawn will be with us every week for practicing the principles. So grateful that you came out to play with us, and Jim Bianchi, of course, on piano.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yay.
Thank you, Reverend Debbie.
Welcome. Thank you so much for coming out tonight and sharing your Wednesday evening with us. It is a joy to be here. It truly is, to launch this new Wednesday night service and to be part of this wonderful creation that is happening in here at Seaside. I'm hoping it's a place that you can come midweek, Wednesday night, and just check in. Check in with Source, check in with Divine, take a moment out of your hurried lives and just breathe and be here for an hour. So truly I appreciate you being here. As Brian said, my talk tonight is Creative Mind and Success. Usually at the beginning of the year, in a lot of the Science of Mind churches, most of our religious science churches go back to basics. January is usually back to basics month. And so we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. We're going to go back to basics. And here at Seaside, we have a new theme for 2015. You've probably heard Dr. Christian talk about it if you're a Sunday visitor. It's creating an amazing life. So we're going to be looking at all the ways you can create an amazing life this year in 2015. Today is a special day. Today is actually Ernest Holmes' birthday. January 21st, 1887, Ernest Holmes was born. So I feel that's kind of a good sign, for the kickoff of our service here tonight on Ernest's birthday. 128 years ago. So this philosophy was birthed, with the birth of Ernest Holmes. And what an exciting time that would have been to live, in the early 1900s and the 1920s, 1930s, when all of these new thought people were alive and walking the planet and coming together and having discussions. It would have been a great living room group to be part of, because that's how Ernest started. He just started talking to people in their living rooms, and he grew and he grew and he grew to bigger and bigger lecture halls. His very first book that he wrote it in 1919, the book that Brian talked about, Creative Mind and Success, considered the very first self-help book ever written back then in 1919. It's written before the Science of Mind textbook. And in 1957, it was republished, so Ernest wrote a new introduction to the beginning of the book, and that's in the books that we buy today. That introduction's in there. And he says it's the first time that he revisited the book upon its first publishing. And what he found is that there's not much he would change. few words. We used to hold thought, now we release it, things like that, little technicalities. But for the most part, it was truth is the truth is the truth. And that's what he said. The one thing he said that he would do differently is he would write it with more conviction. Because in the 37 years since its printing, he had seen these principles proved over and over and over again. And so he knew it at a deeper level. He believed it at a deeper level. And so we're going to use a little bit of this book tonight as we go into talking about the principle this evening. So I'm practicing the principle. I hope each week to present a different principle to you. And this week's principle is all thought is creative. All thought is creative. And that's sort of a unique thing of science of mind, change your thinking, change your life. Thoughts held in mind, produce in kind, all those little slogans that we have, and it's sort of our through line. In our science of mind text in the very beginning, there's just a little bit about that. He has a little summary of all thought is creative, and then it goes on, of course, through the entire text to tell you how to use it, what it looks like, what it is, and so on. I'm going to tell you a little story. I'll tell you a little story about a man who sold great hot dogs. Illustrate the point a little bit here. There was a man, he was an elderly man, and he had this hot dog stand. Now he couldn't see very well, so he didn't read the newspapers, and he didn't have a television, and he didn't really listen to radio because he was a little hard of hearing, but what he did do is he sold great hot dogs. He had a little booth on the side of the road, and he would be out there every day, and he would be waving at the people and telling them, come have a hot dog, they're the best in town. And he put up advertisements out for his hot dog stand, and it grew, and it got larger and larger and larger, and he had to go order, larger quantities of buns and larger quantities of hot dogs and get a bigger stove to cook all his hot dogs, and his business was booming. So he thought, I need to bring in some help. So he brought in his son. He brought in his son to help him. Now, his son was a very educated gentleman, had gone to college, was very worldly. And then something happened. His son said to him, Dad, we're in a terrible economy. There's a huge recession going on. There is unemployment scale up, unemployment's ridiculous. There's all sorts of financial crises happening. There's wars going on. There's addictions and crime, and you name it. The world's in absolute mess. It is not a good time to have a hot dog stand. So the man thought to himself, gee, my son's educated. He knows. I should listen to him. So he stopped ordering so many buns and dogs, cut his order back, stopped standing on the side of the road waving at people, took down his advertisements, and overnight his business plummeted. And he said, you know what, son? We really are in a bad recession. It is done unto you as you believe. Our thoughts are very powerful. We share that often, that there is just, it's everything that we do and everything that we say and think is creative. So if all our thoughts are creative, how do we go about creating the most amazing life this year? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the steps that we can use in our life, the practical steps to start creating the life that we want. So step number 1 is first to know and accept the law. The creative process, we call it the science of mind. If you've taken any of our classes, we always talk about the creative process, which illustrates how the law works. The seed, soil, plant story, you've all heard it if you've been in classes. And it's also our religious science symbol, the seed, soil, plant. So the seed is the thought that we plant in the soil, which is the law, and it produces the plant. So whatever we put into the soil is what we're going to produce. So if we put a carrot seed into the soil, we're going to get a carrot. If we put a bean seed in, we're going to get a bean. If we put love into the soil, we're going to get love in our life. And that's just the way that it works. So that's the acceptance of the law, that the law is the law is the law. Ernest was really into the law when he wrote Creative Mind and Success, so the book is really focusing on the law. And the thing about the law is impartial. The law does not care. It does not care what you put into it. It has no opinion on what you put into it. It has no judgment of what you put into it. So you can put in whatever you want, and it's going to give it back to you. And that's symbolized in our Science of Mind V, in our teaching symbol that has the big V with the circle, and you have two lines through it. Well, that top part is the mind of God, and it's the mind of man. We are that individualized expression of God. That center part is the law. So the thought moves through the law down into that bottom part, which is the manifestation. So again, whatever we put down in through the law manifests itself. And that is the way that the law works. So remember that whether you're aware that you're using the law, you're consciously using the law, you're just daydreaming, you're using the law. We're always using the law. So that's the very first thing in creating the amazing life that you want, is to first know and accept the law. Ernest Holmes in his foreword says this: "It is a self-evident truth that if man is made in the spiritual image and likeness of God, then man's mind must be made out of God's mind." And that's it. We have the mind of God. Also, that man has the same power in his individual life that God has in the universal. Man is able by thinking to set in motion a power that creates. Of course, man does not create that power, neither does he coerce it. It is his to use either rightly or wrongly. So we have that very same power that God has. That's step 2. Believe in the divine power within yourself. How many of you truly believe you are God made manifest? I know back in the 70s, do you remember when Shirley MacLaine was into all the new thought sort of things, and she wrote the book Out on a Limb, and then they did the TV movie Out on a Limb. And remember that scene when she's standing on the beach and she claims, I am God made manifest. And people just thought that was blasphemous. How could you say that? How could you say you're God? Oh, no, that's wrong. But here at Religious Science, we're saying you are. You are the divine made manifest, each one of you. Every living thing on this planet is God made manifest. So do you truly believe that? Do you believe that the mind of God is your mind and that you have that very same power to create that Spirit has? Now, of course, as we hear all the time, we are not all that God is, but God is all that we are. Every little thing, every little speck of my being is God. I'm not all that God is. Again, we use the story of the sun and the rays, or the ocean and the waves. The ocean, that vast ocean, is God, and all that power and energy is God. And we are the wave, and we are the wave of the ocean. And so we have all the same water in our wave that is in the ocean. We have every element of the ocean in us. We are no different. We are an individualized expression of the divine. So we have that very same power. We are the individualized mind of God. So we know and accept the law. We believe in the divine power. And then step 3 is to get clear on what you want. So it's important to know what you want. If you're sitting and you're confused, what are we creating? Confusion. If you're sitting and not knowing, then you're sitting in that not knowing. If you're sitting and you're thinking, oh my gosh, the world's terrible and I can't make any money, then that's what you're creating. You know, what you want to do is get very clear on that thing that it is that you want to manifest in your life. You want to be clear on what it is, and you want to create that spiritual prototype. Brian read it, the mental equivalent. What does that look like? What is it? You know, again, in classes, and I think it's in Ruth's class, and this came from Thomas Troward, the mental equivalent is that thing that has the qualities of God that we're wanting. In class, they always use the example of the red sports car. So you want a red sports car. Is that really what you want? We look at what is the feelings, what are those qualities of God that red sports car represents? Does it represent freedom? It represents opulence. It represents abundance. It represents a lifestyle. It represents what it represents to you is those qualities of God. So you want to look, what are the qualities of God that I'm wanting to manifest? Believe me, if you focus on the qualities of God rather than the thing, it will manifest. Say you're wanting to create the perfect life partner, and you're knowing this partner has to be tall, dark, and handsome. Well, you're really limiting God then, aren't you? But if you know that the qualities of your life partner is one who is loving and affectionate and joyous and a good listener and open and communicative, and that's what you're focusing on in your prayers. And then no matter what package this life partner shows up in, tall, dark, or handsome, or some other form, you're recognizing it because it's those qualities that you're wanting. You're not stopping the flow. You've created that mental equivalent. The next step, step 4, is to take affirmative prayer and meditation into your daily life. How many of you are doing a consistent spiritual practice? I can't tell you how important that is. We can be knowing this all, and we can be taking the classes, and we can be knowing the theories, but if we're not living it, it's not going to be working in our life. Are you taking that time to get quiet with the divine? Are you taking the time in your busy day and your busy week to sit, to meditate? It doesn't have to look like sitting cross-legged and oming. You can take a walk on the beach. We live in a beautiful, beautiful community to go out and be in nature and connect with the divine. Reverend Tammy talks about music. Music is another way. If you're listening to spiritual music, I put on my spiritual music every morning, and that's part of my meditation. I listen to the music as I'm getting dressed, as I'm getting ready for my day. I listen to Aria's CD that I just love, which is from Reverend Tammy's Amazing Grace service, and it just puts me in that place. It puts me in the place to begin my day. So there's lots of ways that your meditation can look. Affirmative prayer is the prayer that we do here in religious science. It's a 5-step spiritual mind treatment. It's specific. Jenny Mills, who's our Wednesday night coordinator here, she's a master practitioner at Seaside, and she has the honor of teaching the Spiritual Mind Treatment Workshop. It's coming up in just a few weeks, February 14th, Saturday morning here. If you don't know how to do affirmative prayer, come and be part of Jenny's class. Learn how to do the prayer that is giving thanks, the prayer that's affirming what you want in your life. We don't do the beseeching prayer here. We don't do, oh God, please give me if I'm only worthy. No, we know we're worthy because we know we're the divine. So learn how to do the prayer if you don't know how. Dr. Christian's Foundation class is a wonderful place. Reverend Tammy teaches Power of the Word, which is all about learning the treatment, learning how to do a spiritual mind treatment. It'll serve you well in your life. Step 5. Let me just take a sip of water here. Step 5 is follow your inner guidance. Once you start doing these steps, you are opened up to the divine. You are opened up to that still small voice. You are opened up to receive that intuitive guidance. Pay attention as you go through your daily life, as you go through the walk in life. See what shows up. See who shows up. Pay attention. Pay attention. Spirit will be speaking to you in many, many different ways. Step 6 is think positive thoughts and speak positive words. Now that may sound simple or simplistic, but it's so very important. How often have you been around somebody who is just so negative? Have you guys ever been with somebody who's just like, nothing is good, the world is falling apart, doomsday is coming? The Eeyores of the world, and that energy is heavy. It's hard to be around that for a long time. But then you're around somebody who's positive and upbeat and energetic. Doesn't that feel so much better? It feels so good to be with somebody who's in that flow of life. Ernest Holmes, in this book that was written in 1919, he talks a lot about business, and he talks about why some businesses fail and why some flourish. And it's applicable today. That's what's so interesting about the book. He talks about going into businesses back there in 1919, and the energy is dead. And you don't want to buy anything there. You can't wait to get out of the store because you can just feel that negativity. But you go into another store and it's alive and it's bustling and there's all kinds of activity happening, and you want to buy there. You want to spend your money there. You want to be part of that. So he uses that as a business model, which I think is so interesting. And I know in my life, I like to go grocery shopping at this one store. And where I like to shop, their people there are so friendly. And there's one gal in particular who is so upbeat and so energetic, and she knows everybody's name, and she says hello to you, and she's excited to see you, and she gives you a hug, and she asks how your day is. I mean, she's a big asset to that company. She makes me want to go buy my groceries there. You know, I feel welcome. I feel part of. Positive energy goes a long, long way. I found this cute quote that I'm going to share with you. Roald Dahl, the author of James and the Giant Peach and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, a British author, children's author, he has this quote: "If you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely." I like that. You will always look lovely. Step 7, the last step I'm going to talk about, is take action. An object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Are you in motion or are you in rest? If you want to be in the flow of a successful life, you must move. You must take the action. It's great to pray and do all this work. We prepared in our first 6 steps, and now we're in step 7. Step 7, action. Treat and move your feet, we used to say here. So you do your treatment, but you don't just sit there waiting for God to drop it on your lap. You get out and move. Get out in the world and do things. Change up what you're doing. If you're in a rut, get out of it. Change the direction that you drive to work. Change something. You know, try things. If you have an idea, if you have that inspiration, try it. Go this way. The door's closed. Turn around. Go another way. The door opens. Beautiful. You meet the right people. Excuse me. Exactly what you need is there, but you won't know unless you're moving. You won't know unless you're in action. So I invite you to be in action. I'm going to end with the final word from Ernest. Excuse me. The final word. In the last analysis, man is just what he thinks himself to be. He is big in capacity if he thinks big thoughts. He is small if he thinks small thoughts. He will attract to himself what he thinks most about. Excuse me. He can learn to govern his own destiny when he learns to control his thoughts. So take these steps into your life this week. Try them out. See if they work. Bless you. Have a great week. Miss Aria.
What am I thinking about and believing? If I look all around, I might see what I'm holding is true, but I need to be free from, so the magic of life can find me. What am I thinking about? What do I see when I turn around and I face today what I've created? What am I thinking about? What's showing up in the space I carved out for the dreams I thought I would make it? I want to write my story all over again and live it like a child in wonder. I want to write my story all over again from a place of delighted surrender. And I'm gonna write my story all over again, keeping in mind frustrated, throw it away. I'm gonna write my story all over again and live it like a child and wonder. I'm gonna write my story all over again from a place of delighted surrender. I'm gonna write my story all over again, keeping in mind love and laughter. I'm gonna write my story all over again and live it happily ever after. Well, the rains will come and I know the waves will surge and the winds they will blow, but I turn my face to the sky and I smile. I'm gonna write my story all over again and live it like a child and wonder. I'm gonna write my story all over again from a place of delighted surrender. I'm gonna write my story all over again, keeping in mind love and laughter. I'm gonna write my story all over again and live it happily ever after. What am I thinking about? What do I see when I turn around and I face today what I've created?
Yay! Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you. What are you thinking about? We're so blessed to have Aria. I think it's time for another CD, Aria.
I know.
Okay.
It's this close.
Okay, good. This is the time of our service where we get to give and receive, and it is the time for offering. I want us to say a few words about that. You know, we have a system here at Seaside which is called auto tithing, so you're welcome to sign up for that. That's in your program if you're interested in doing that. And then you receive a card, a little card like this, or you can pick it up on your way in so you don't feel like you're not putting anything in the basket. But you can have this to put your donation in. And please know that you can designate a part of your offering to the Wednesday night service if that's something that feels right to you, to help support our service, to help it grow and prosper as we know that it is. So at this time, I'm going to ask our ushers to come forward. I think we have Dennis and Ginny. Look at that. Two of our lovely practitioners who happen to be married to each other. Yes. I think you met in classes too, didn't you? See, class is a good place to be, I'm just saying. So just knowing that this evening is an absolute blessed evening, that there's an absolute abundance that's flowing in through and as each and every individual, knowing that there's an abundance that's flowing into Seaside in this very moment, and knowing that each one here is blessed by that law of reciprocity, knowing that as each one gives, they receive, and their life is just blessed and overflowing in every way. I am so grateful to know that this is the truth of the law, that we just let it be. And so it is. And join me in our prosperity prayer this evening. As I give thanks for the good now flowing into my life, I gladly share that good with others. The more I give, the more I receive. I experience a deeper consciousness of peace and security, for I know that I am in the embrace of a warm, loving presence, forever seeking an outlet through me. My cup runneth over. I exist in limitless possibilities. Thank you.
Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Sing along. receive.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I just have a few announcements this evening before we do our closing prayer and song. So I want to just remind you that classes are underway. Dr. Julene has a class that's beginning tomorrow night, Ignite Your Life with Bible Wisdom. I invite you to come and be part of it. He is a dynamic teacher. He is one of our cherished teachers at the Holmes Institute. He was in the seminary, then he became a banker, then he became a religious science minister. He is a fascinating man. He has a knowledge of the Bible that's amazing. And it's also the Bible interpretation that we have in Science of Mind. It's a metaphysical interpretation of the Bible. And he also talks about the history of the Bible and the stories of Jesus. So if you're available on Thursday night, please be part of his class. You can sign up in the family room afterwards, and his class starts tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, so you'll be there for the very first class. Jenny Mills also is having the treatment workshop I talked about on the 14th, but she is also doing a class that we've never offered here before at Seaside. It's starting the end of February, I believe, the beginning of February. It is The Power of Decision. It's based on Charles Barker's book. Raymond Charles Barker, who was a peer of Dr. Holmes, and it's a powerful book, The Power of Decision. So if you're having trouble making decisions, getting clear on that thing that you want, that's a wonderful class for you to be part of. Also, just a reminder that this Sunday is our annual meeting at Sunday. So if you want to hear about the business of Seaside and what we do and what we're looking like, how last year wrapped up and what next year is looking like, come and be part of that. That's after second service. Our bookstore is open tonight, so don't forget about that. There's CDs available in there. We have all sorts of wonderful meditation CDs and books and gifts. So if you're thinking about starting up a spiritual practice, we've got some wonderful tools in there for you to use. So take a look in the bookstore and say hi to Bruce. Reverend Lori Mack is on next week with Practicing the Presence, and her talk is Attention to Intention. Attention to intention. So join Reverend Lori next week. She'll be here with you. Know that our practitioners are always available for prayer. We have quite a few of them tonight. We have two of our students. We have Rick and Vicky, who are Prax 2 students, moving into that place of shadowing and doing the tasks of practitioner as they get ready for graduation. And we have Kathleen Lees and, of course, Brian Atkins, who will be with here every third Wednesday. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kathleen. They're available for prayer after service at the side chapel right here outside these doors. Please see them. Also, you can write a written prayer request in the prayer request chest if that's something you're wanting to do as well. I'm going to go ahead and say my thank yous now so we can go right into the prayer and the closing prayer. I want to thank Jenny Mills for doing our Wednesday night service, for being our coordinator. Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you to Melanie in the sound booth and Gregory, our new podcaster. Thank you, Gregory. He's got the ropes now. He's got the wheel. Aria and Jim, I love you. I'm so grateful you're here with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to all of you for coming out and supporting our Going Within service. We're so appreciative of it. Just take a moment to go into prayer, and then Ari is going to lead us out in song. And this week I'm going to have the song, the words of the song are going to be up there. So I'll invite you during the song to stand and hold the hand of your neighbor if that's something that feels good to you. So we're just turning within. Just knowing and feeling and sensing that one power and that one presence that is God, that is good, that is love, that is always present here, now, and always. Knowing that there is nothing else but the divine. I know that I am one with all that is. I know that I am one with the divine. And just as I know this is true for me, I know it's true for each and every individual here, each and every individual within the sound of my voice, each and every individual on this planet is God made manifest. And I know and I claim for each one a divine life, an amazing life, a magnificent life, knowing that each one has that power within to create the most amazing life. And I know for Wednesday night service that it continues to grow and expand and it is blessed. I know for everybody in our prayer request chest that there's a healing taking place. I know for our beautiful practitioner, Jan Hartman, who had knee surgery, that it is successful, that she's back with us in just a few weeks, walking and mobile, in perfect, wonderful health. I'm knowing for our beautiful Burmeister family that there's a peace and a love moving through them. This time of transition. I'm just so grateful to be part of this spiritual community. I'm so grateful to be part of this thing that we call Seaside, that I just simply release these words into the divine nature of the law, knowing that it is already done, it is already complete, and so it is.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. Oh, and once I decide to change my mind, love will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love, it is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. Oh, once I decide to change my mind, love will show me how. Love, it is my decision. My decision right here and now. My decision right here and now.
Thank you. Thank you, I needed it. I was like, join us for refreshments for Ernest's birthday.
So bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. I'm through crying, I'm through waiting, that I'm hoping that's against all hope. And I'm through longing for something gone that will never be mine. Find and learn it's time to bring it on. Everything new, everything different, everything true. I am ready for my next thing to do. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. Oh, I know it's gonna be everything new. Thank you.